The film you are about to see tells a story from a bygone era. That statement may seem strange, since the film was made only a decade ago, and the development of the great river of the West, the Columbia, is still going on. As you watch the film, you may want to bear in mind that environmental awareness has grown to full realization in less time than the film has aged. It would be an exaggeration, however, to say that the developers have spoiled its environment, but we'll let you judge that for yourselves.
In its westerly course across the upper basin with a volume of water many times that of today, fed by an ice sheet covering half the continent. It roared in a cataract greater than any now on Earth.
This greatest of all the rivers raged across the land for 700,000 centuries.
It is essential that every drop of water, from the moment that it falls upon our land, be turned to the service of our people.
Home. Where else to begin? I grew up skiing the mountains above Rossland, with sweeping views of the Columbia. As a skier, I've barely scratched the surface of the terrain along its banks. I've longed to travel the waterway to explore the cultures and industries that define my home.
And it's just beginning.
From its headwater source in Columbia Lake, the main stem of the river follows a twisting course for 480 miles through British Columbia. The Columbia is a mountain river. Its first beginnings are in the melting snow and ice of 1,000 mountain peaks that ring its basin.
I was born in Invermere, at the headwaters of the Columbia. I've spent my whole life skiing BC's interior mountain ranges, from my first turns to competing on the World Cup and Olympic circuits. This river travels over 600 kilometers through BC. It's the thread that weaves our mountain culture together.
Low-ceiling clouds usually allow a ceiling of several hundred feet. However, they may extend to as low as 50 feet above ground level.
In this sequence are shown experiments of simulated weightlessness, or zero-G.
The deep snows around Rossland and Trail are a gateway to discovery. They instilled my childhood with a sense of freedom.
If I skied like that whole line up in there, it'd be really nice.
A freedom created by generations of explorers, entrepreneurs, and adventurers.
As we move past towns like New Denver and Nakusp, it's easy to find remnants of the people who came before us. Those who carved a living from the land.
communities in closest proximity to the Treaty Dam project will realize the first tangible benefits from the construction program.
Once free-flowing, the Columbia is now one of the most hydro-dammed rivers in the world. Supporting millions of people with its power. A change that has affected the valley for generations.
For decades, the Pacific Northwest has lived on its vast forest resources. 90 million acres of towering majesty. Fir, spruce, pine.
Long ago, warm waters led hand. Vast ocean spread. They opened up and pointed to you.
To maintain the forest to serve these varied uses, it must be properly managed for the greatest benefit of the forest itself.
This is the forest functioning at its best, serving the tourist and the outdoorsman, and at the same time, serving the forest industry.
It's a challenge, the relationship between industry and experience. We are all stakeholders. Still, we have to strive for balance.
Life has a way of finding those who look for it. Home is not always as far from us as we believe.
There are still places connected to the past. I see how I'm a part of nature. Finding harmony in the elements.
Life depends on death as much as on life. We say it is rather a change from life to life.
The Purcells, Monashees, and Selkirks, iconic ranges that feed hundreds of smaller tributaries into the Columbia. An intricate network, allowing us to advance further and higher.
This gigantic project, where men and machines are literally moving a mountain into a valley, will produce its first power in 1968.
Not for power alone was the Columbia being harnessed, but for all its values.
Electrical freeways. To sell and exchange power.
In its beautiful setting, this awakening tourist center could become the equal of any European mountain resort.
The genuine mountain experience gives a sense of awe for the landscape, of timelessness, and of being in tune with your surroundings while you listen to the rich harmony of nature's silence.
The engineer, the prospector, modern pioneers have turned to the power of vertical flight to probe for their secrets.
It's not only a big country, but a rough one. And there's only one way to get a good look at it.
When Hans Moser started CMH heli-skiing in the 1960s, he looked to the Columbia to take skiing to the skies. It was the birth of a new industry, opening our mountains to the world.
A man should have wings to carry him to where his dreams go, but sometimes a pair of skis is a good substitute.
A recreational wonderland has been created along the Columbia, and all types of water sports have become an important part of the life and economy of the Columbia River Basin.
The people whose working lives are enriched by the river turn to the same river for play and relaxation.
Hop, hop, yeah, let's dance with me, yeah, beautiful, amazing. Wow, you are just flying today, Brigitte, unbelievable.
Yeah, the snow is so forgiving.
The high country will bring you unrivaled scenery.
That was the perfect timing, and also the way you moved, that was very nicely and graceful. You dived into the snow and you flew out. It was unreal.
At the most northerly source of the river, near Kinbasket Lake, I'm struck by the sheer enormity. Seeing the land from the water has given me a new perspective. I'm a child of this river, these mountains, its culture.
The development of the Pacific Slope is part of the story of man and his use of rivers in our changing world.
Sounding like this.
Yeah, this is Dane. I'm 100%. I'm dropping in 5 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Really gave her everything.
Okay, here we go, everybody. Lusti, 3, 2, 1, dropping.
The great river has been harnessed to serve man and to enhance his environment. Our standard of living in the Northwest depends largely upon the development achieved over the past 4 decades.
So we have traced the course of the mighty Columbia, seeing how it helps the people who live near it, and how the people have changed the river. The Columbia River serves the people of the entire Pacific Northwest, earning its place as one of the great rivers of North America.